Blox fruits? Well, in this video I'll be telling you 10 Blox fruit tips that are actually useful. Without any more talking, let's start. Did you know that whenever there is a wall between you and a mob, the mob can't hit you but you can hit them? I call this tip the wall strategy, and it's super useful for grinding mobs, especially if you find them hard to defeat. For obvious reasons, the wall can't be too big or you also won't be able to hit the mob. If the mob has an AoE ability such as this boss, it'll still hit you, as the wall will only block the M1 attacks, which is good enough. That's the first tip I have, so let's move on now. The next tip is about stat points, and how to use them correctly. It surprises me how many comments I get about people asking how they should use their stat points. I'll make this short and simple since it's literally such a simple mechanic to learn. Always max out the melee and defense stat sections. It's pretty much an unwritten Blox fruits law. Melee increases damage on fighting styles by plus 0.5 damage, and it gives plus 5 energy for every stat point in melee. And defense gives plus 5 more health for every stat point into defense. Once you max those two sections, you'll only be able to max one more section, and this section will be whatever your main damage is. Since my main damage in this case is sound, my stat points will be max melee, defense and fruit. That's pretty much it. If you're still confused about what to pick, I recommend you watch this video. Now let's move on to the next tip. Server hopping is a super useful tool that not many players utilize, especially players who aren't that experienced. Like, say you wanted to defeat the Kilo Admiral boss, but it hasn't spawned yet in your server. You can literally just swap servers. Server hopping is also super useful when you're trying to grind bosses, since you can bypass their spawn time by just changing servers. The two ways you can server hop is by either just leaving and rejoining Blox fruits, the default way, or using this button at the top left of the screen, the faster way. Console players, people who play on Xbox, PlayStation, etc., can't do the second method since the button isn't there, so yeah, make sure you do the second method if the button is there, since it's way faster than leaving and rejoining. Also, the button is supposed to look like this. I don't really know why it's just a circle at the moment, so yeah. Now let's move on to the next tip. It's no surprise that grinding levels in this game is insanely repetitive and boring, as it's pretty much the same thing over and over again. I mean, literally from level 1 till max level you'll be doing the same thing, which is getting the quest, killing the mobs, and repeat. The game only really gets good after max level, so that's why it's important to reach it as soon as possible. So this tip will be based on leveling guides, as I get so many people telling me it took them months to reach max level. And that's kinda crazy because I have 7 alt accounts that are all max level, and it typically takes me around 2 weeks to get to max level. So I would highly recommend watching my leveling guide, which guides you on the best quests to grind from level 1 to max level. Since if you don't know, not every quest is efficient for grinding, especially the Coliseum quests. So that video will pretty much guide you till max level. Also, my leveling guide heavily takes advantage of server hopping till the early 3rd C. So yeah, now let's move on to the next tip. Did you know one of the best ways to grind money is by defeating the Vice Admiral? With 2x money, on average you can get around 5 million money per hour, which is insane. This boss spawns every 5 minutes, so in pretty much every server he'll be spawned. And he's only a level 130 boss, so he's super easy to defeat even early on. This is one of the best ways to grind money, especially in the first C where money grinding methods are pretty much non-existent or complete garbage. Also, if you're struggling to defeat this boss, just lure him here and do the wall strategy I mentioned early in the video. Also, when doing this strategy, make sure you choose the Marine team as you spawn closer to the boss's spawn location. That's everything I have to say, so let's move on to the next tip. Alright, the next tip is super simple, and it's using Discord. Discord can save you so much time in Blox fruits, like if you needed someone to carry you in a duo raid. So instead of wasting your time begging in Blox fruits for someone to carry you, you can ask for help on Discord, which is like 10 times faster. Now obviously everyone will ask for fruit payments, and the fruit they ask for just depends on what you need help with. If someone is helping you, make sure they have at least 25 plus vouchers, otherwise I'd just find a different person to help. I'd also recommend using the official Blox fruits Discord, discord.gg/bloxfruits, as it's the most popular, so you'll get replies fast. That's everything I have to say about this tip, so let's move on. Alright, this tip is about using macros and auto clickers, as they can save you so much time when grinding. Starting off with the auto clicker, and it's exactly what it sounds like, it automatically clicks for you. So instead of tiring your hands by spam clicking your mouse to defeat enemies, just get an auto clicker. Auto clickers will also click much faster than you, so you'll also be dealing more damage faster with an auto clicker. An auto clicker I would recommend is OP Auto Clicker, so just type that on Google and it'll be the first link. You can also get auto clickers from your app store on mobile, but I don't think it's too practical, so this tip is mainly for PC players. And macros pretty much repeat the actions you want. Macros are kind of similar to auto clickers. Auto clickers can only click for you, while macros can repeat any action you want. Also, macros and auto clickers are allowed, won't get you banned, so don't worry about that. The macro I recommend is TinyTask. You can download it off Google and it is super user friendly. To use TinyTask, press the record button. Do the set of actions you want, stop recording and then press the play button for it to do the actions. It's honestly super simple, but if you're still confused on how to use TinyTask, I recommend you go watch a tutorial on that. Also, make sure you turn on continuous playbacks in the settings tab of TinyTask so it won't stop the playbacks after only one rep. Also, I don't think there are any macros for mobile, but if there are, let me know in the comments. But anyway, with a macro, you can literally AFK farm money, mastery, fruits, and pretty much everything. I'd highly recommend watching this video, which tells you how to AFK farm almost everything with a macro. That's everything I have to say about this tip, so let's move on. Alright, the next tip is super simple, and it's maxing out your hockey as soon as possible. I cannot stress how important maxing out your hockey is as soon as possible, as the buffs will help you with grinding and PvP a lot. The main hockey I would recommend maxing out as soon as possible is Aura, as it buffs your damage and reduces the amount of damage you take. I'd recommend watching this video if you want to know how to max Aura fast, as if you use the strategy I show in the video, you can get stage 5 hockey within a night of AFK. Maxing out Aura hockey early on will be super helpful for grinding, so I would highly recommend maxing it out as soon as possible. Also, I would recommend working on your instinct hockey as soon as possible too, as it'll help a lot when grinding for instinct V2. But you can't AFK grind instinct to max it out fast, so just make sure you always enable instinct, even though the darkness on your screen can be a bit annoying. Now let's move on to the next tip. Alright, this next tip is for first C players, and it's how you can get almost empty servers in Blox Fruits. Just go here where you can see Roblox servers, and set this part to ascending, and tick the exclude full servers. You will then see a bunch of servers with only one person in it, so it's pretty much a free private server. This will only work for the first C though. You can't use this method to get almost empty servers for the 2nd/3rd C. The reason for this is that going to the 2nd/3rd C Blox Fruit redirects you to a new server, so it's impossible to do this method for other Cs. But a method you can use for actual private servers is by just searching Blox Fruit private server links on Google. This is one of the private servers. It's not completely private, but it's emptier than the typical server. Also, these servers are almost always super chill, as the people in here are usually grinding just like you, so there won't be any bounty hunters. You can use any website for private server links, just be careful since some might be scams, highly unlikely though. Also, if you didn't know, you can actually join links on mobile. Just search up a tutorial for that on YouTube and follow it. Yeah, that's everything I have to say about this tip, so let's move on. Alright, the last useful tip I have is about trading, and it's knowing value. I get lots of comments about people telling me a trade they did and asking if it was a win or a loss, and I appreciate that, but I would highly recommend using a value website, like 123 Demands, to see if a trade you're about to do is a win or if you're getting ripped off. I personally use 123 Demands, but if you know a better website, let me know in the comments, as 123 Demands tells the fruit value, and what they're typically traded for. And yeah, those are 10 tips you must know in Blox Fruits. Anyway guys, that's the end of this video. If you found this video useful, make sure to like, and you'd probably also find this video useful, which tells you 10 grinding mistakes to avoid in Blox Fruits.